Welcome to the Hope for Parents with Struggling Teens podcast. I'm Brandon Jaffe. Join us as we explore relationship and mental health issues by weeding out the trends in the mental health industry to uncover what truly works in improving our emotional well-being and relationships. At Inspired Resolutions Counseling, we specialize in providing interventions and resources for families with teens, focusing on topics such as teen mental health, parenting challenges, and family dynamics. In this episode, I'm going to try to tackle coherently the concept of self-love. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I keep seeing on mental health pages various memes or ideas or little scripts that are all about loving yourself. This concept became trendy in the beginning, maybe right before I started my practice. Self-love's always been something that you talk about, and I know that in the 70s it became a really big concept, but it became a mental health concept shortly before or right as I was getting my degree. And I think that it's a great concept, but the way people are discussing it, at least in terms of mental health, I think that we're leading people down the wrong path. And if you've ever listened to any of my podcasts, you know that I say some things that will lose me listeners and kind of tick people off. I hope I don't make anybody angry, but I was looking through social media, just kind of doing my mindless scrolling. And because of what I do, I get a lot of mental health stuff. And I was looking at this page that led me down a rabbit hole. It was all about just this self-love, self-love, self-love. Love yourself. Nobody can love you unless you love yourself. And again, I get it, but I don't think that just upping the ante on I love myself. And I'm talking about that kind of self-love where you just look in the mirror and you say, I'm amazing. I know my worth. I don't think that's actually helping anybody. I think that's really surface level. It isn't what is going to help people through mental health or difficult periods of time in their life. And I think we need to go deeper with this message in the mental health world. True self-love to me means holding yourself accountable. Yeah, forgiving your mistakes, but not forgetting your mistakes and making sure that you hang on to the lessons that they bring. It means embracing both your strengths, but also your limitations. And it means being honest while, giving yourself grace. And I think these days, the message is love yourself in spite of your limitations. Just pretend like you don't have any limitations. You are great. You are amazing. And the truth is, a lot of mental health issues come from really bad decision making, whether it be being in unhealthy relationships, not treating people well, defiance, criminality. Not all mental health comes from an imbalance. Not all mental health issues come from being a victim of circumstances. Some of it comes from our own choices. And I will bring this back to what I hope can be a true concept for mental health of self-love. It is important to know your worth. That is a piece of it. The uplifting affirmations, those catchy hashtags, those are cool. I like them. Sometimes they make me feel good. But the message of self-love is watered down, in my opinion. And some people, instead of doing some things that will actually help them grow, which to me is self-love, even if it hurts and even if it's difficult, they just kind of keep putting on the Band-Aid of self-love, self-love, self-love. Let's read a great meme. Let's just give myself some uplifting affirmations in the morning and see if that gets me out of the deep, dark recesses of what I'm going through. And again, it feels good for a moment, but we got to dig deeper. We do. When people talk about self-acceptance, I love that concept. We've got to celebrate and be accepting of ourselves. But with self-acceptance comes being honest and being clear about our tendencies, our habits. Acceptance in the moment doesn't mean that you don't have a heart or a mind for change. Sometimes acceptance is, hey, you know what? This thing's unique. This part about me doesn't look like everybody else, but I'm going to celebrate it. I'm going to accept it, not change it because it isn't hurting anybody. It's actually unique and good for me. But sometimes we have habits or we have parts of ourselves where accepting it means I am saying that I admit and accept that this is where I'm at right now, and that's where I should be. I accept that it's going to take small little steps and I can love myself while holding myself accountable and having expectations of myself, because that is a part of loving myself as well. It's really important, I think, in our field is once we have accepted what is, both the good, the bad, and the ugly of ourselves, asking ourselves, well, what can I learn from this? What do I need to forgive? What do I need to work on? What do I regret and shouldn't be dwelling in because there's no amends to be made? But it's this process of honesty and a willingness to see our true selves, both the comfortable parts and the uncomfortable parts. It's extending grace during the hard moments while simultaneously taking accountability. I heard this concept. It's the idea that when you're in a bad place, you need to almost proclaim, I need more of me. And it kind of reminded me of, it's almost like this fake accessory that you're putting on. I need more of me. I need more self-love because I'm in a bad place and I can't depend on people, or I hurt people, but I'm not going to take a look at that. And so I just need more of me. Well, no, what are you talking about? That doesn't even make sense. It's almost like this trendy accessory facade. And it leads to, well, if I just self-care more, then I'm going to be okay. And I'm all about self-care. But to me, again, self-care is sometimes lounging out by the pool, getting your nails done, getting a massage, or doing the hard steps of physically taking care of yourself, running a few miles or exercising, right? Self-care isn't all the fun stuff. Self-care and self-love is the difficult, sometimes miserable feeling steps that you take to be healthier, be more aware of yourself, to make sure that you are growing at all times. And that requires that you confront challenges. It requires that you become your toughest critic. You cannot truly love yourself if you're not aware of yourself, if you're not honest about yourself, and if you're not critiquing yourself. It is a problem if all you do is critique, never change, and never have pride in yourself. But again, true self-love is a balance of all of that. I have an example. I think that a lot of concepts can be reflected in a healthy parent's love for their child. And look, I love my daughter like nobody else on this earth. I do. This love that I have for her, though, isn't about endless praise. Don't get me wrong. I love making her feel good and seeing the pride that she has when she knows or hears that I'm proud of her, or that I think that she's beautiful, or I think that the new gymnastics trick that she learned is awesome, or when I clap for her, or when I say, great job, babe, you finally got that piano music down. With that also has come, for instance, in piano, loving her sometimes is, hey, we committed to getting lessons for learning the piano. I do expect you to practice even though you don't want to. It also came with me telling her, no, that is not correct. That isn't how the teacher taught you to do that song. I hold her accountable for her actions, and I hope that I'm doing a good job of helping her understand her limitations, because that is what it's going to take for me to help her find the tools to become a self-assured person. When she stumbles, it's not loving to pretend like she didn't stumble and didn't make mistakes, but it's important that I let her know, hey, these mistakes aren't the end of the story. These mistakes don't completely define you. It's important for me to help love on her by pointing out opportunities to learn. It's important that I show her that while being accountable or holding her accountable, I can also love on her. It's showing her, loving on her in a way that presents and shows that she has many parts to her, and she can be loved in her mistakes, and she should be loved in her mistakes. And her mistakes can lead to growing and defining the most pleasant and uplifting and amazing. When I think about true self-love, it's important to have the uplifting parts, but it's also important to have the accountability along with the forgiveness. It's important that you are able to be reflective and honest about yourself. While you're honest, the grace leads to strengths. It leads to change. It leads to pride, which is all the point. So it's when you can find true pride in yourself, when you have the experience of overcoming mistakes, of feeling shame and then being able to let go of that because you've made amends, when you have loved yourself in both a harsh and feeling good way, the self-love that you can have for yourself, in my book, becomes more true. It becomes bigger. It becomes something that has a lot more depth. Without that balance, true transformation cannot occur. As I'm talking about this, and I want to relate it to mental health, because somebody who has those experiences, who has that balance of self-love, not just the I am amazing self-love, what happens is your resiliency, your ability to overcome, your ability to heal, your ability to grieve, and come out in a place of strength and growth becomes more likely. It becomes easier to do that. The kind of self-love that transforms lives is not a hashtag. It's a lifestyle. And it starts with being brave enough to accept and face your imperfections. But acceptance, again, is not, I'm not going to do anything about it. You'll learn from it and ultimately grow into a better version of yourself. Loving yourself means embracing the full spectrum of who you are. It's balancing self-compassion with self-discipline. And when we extend that same type of love, both to ourselves and the people that we love, especially our children, we empower other people. We empower our children to grow with resilience, to find an understanding that love is not about avoiding harsh truths and that you don't have to face those harsh truths alone. I hope that this specific episode today gets you really thinking about this self-love concept, because as much as I like the really catchy memes and some of the cool hashtags, I don't think that we're going down the direction in the mental health field of healthy self-love. And I want to change the attitude we have. I want to change the way that we are thinking of the concept of self-love, because I love that concept. I just think that we have an incomplete message and view of it out there in the world today.
The Hope for Parents with Struggling Teens podcast is an Inspired Resolutions production. Hosted by Brandon Jaffe. Edited and mixed by Natalie Atkinson. Music by Natalie and Sean Atkinson. Inspired Resolutions Counseling is based in Yorba Linda, California. Whether you're interested in joining our group, seeking therapy services, or exploring more of our resources, you can find us on our website, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at Inspired Resolutions Counseling.